The floating city of Etheris shimmered in the sunlight, its towers of metal and glass hovering above the clouds. Dragons of all sizes moved gracefully between the platforms, their wings glinting as they soared. But today, a shadow of worry hung over the city. In the grand palace atop the highest platform, the Dragon Queen lay curled in her chamber. Her scales, usually brilliant gold and crimson, were dull. Her breaths were slow and shallow. Guards and servants hovered anxiously, whispering to one another. No one had ever seen the Dragon Queen so weak. The city's best chefs and healers had been summoned. They brought rare herbs, exotic fruits, and dishes so complicated that even the humans were afraid to taste them. Machines whirred, monitors beeped, and spells glimmered in the air. Yet, each time a dish approached the queen, she hissed in disgust or turned away, refusing to eat. "This is impossible," one expert muttered, adjusting her glowing scanners. "All of the finest foods in the world, and she refuses them all. I don't understand." Another shook his head. "Even the magical elixirs fail. Her illness is not just physical. Something else is affecting her appetite." In the corner of the grand chamber, unnoticed by most, a small human moved quietly. Max, a single dad and humble chef, had been delivering meals to the palace kitchens for years. He wasn't an expert, nor was he respected by the other chefs or scientists. Yet he watched carefully, noticing the subtle movements of the Dragon Queen, how her eyes flickered at certain colors, how her nostrils twitched at particular scents, how her wings twitched slightly when something annoyed or delighted her. Max knelt on the polished floor, whispering to himself, "There's something they're missing. She's not responding to all of this. Maybe she just needs something simple, something made with care." A servant scowled at him. "Go back to the kitchens, Max. You're not allowed here." Max shook his head gently. "I'm just observing," he said. His eyes never left the Dragon Queen. Hours passed. The experts tried every dish, every elixir, every magical potion. Nothing worked. The Queen's condition worsened, and the palace grew tense. Alarm bells rang as her breathing became more shallow. "I fear she may not survive another day," whispered one scientist. Max's heart pounded. He thought of his own child at home, laughing and eating sandwiches made with love. His mind raced. "Maybe it's not about rarity or power," he whispered. "Maybe it's about care, something she can trust." He quietly slipped away from the observation area and hurried to the kitchen. Pots and pans clanged as he worked. He pulled out slices of bread, fresh vegetables, a little cheese, and some meat from the pantry. It wasn't fancy and it wasn't rare, but every ingredient was clean, fresh, and prepared carefully. He worked quickly, layering each slice with care, pressing lightly to keep everything together. He smiled softly, thinking of his child at home, how he always tried to make meals comforting. This wasn't just a sandwich. It was a gesture of care, something ordinary yet full of attention and warmth. Max returned to the Dragon Queen's chamber, careful not to draw attention. The experts were still arguing, frustrated that no method worked. He approached the edge of the room, holding the sandwich carefully on a small plate. He whispered softly, almost to himself, "I hope this works." The Dragon Queen lifted her massive head slightly. Her golden eyes, dull and tired, turned toward the small human holding the plate. She sniffed the air, nostrils flaring. Something about the simple smell caught her attention. She blinked slowly. Max took a careful step forward. "Your Majesty," he said softly, "I know everyone has tried everything, but I made this just for you. It's simple, but I made it with care. Please try it." The guard stiffened. "Sir, step back," one shouted. "You're not allowed." But the Dragon Queen moved. She lowered her massive head and sniffed the sandwich again. Then, carefully, she took a small bite. Silence fell over the chamber. All eyes were on her. She chewed slowly, then blinked. Her eyes brightened slightly. She hissed softly, not in anger, but in curiosity. She took another small bite, then another. Max held his breath, hoping this simple meal could succeed where the experts' dishes failed. Minutes passed, and the Queen continued eating. Slowly, her breathing deepened. The golden scales along her neck gleamed faintly, a sign of returning strength. The palace erupted in whispered amazement. The experts, flustered and embarrassed, stared at the simple human who had succeeded where their knowledge machines and rare ingredients had failed. Max smiled softly, a warmth filling his chest. He knelt beside the Dragon Queen, whispering, "See? Sometimes the simplest things made with care are the strongest." The Queen finished the sandwich and let out a soft, approving hiss. She nudged Max gently with her snout, a gesture of gratitude and recognition. The guards and scientists watched in disbelief. The Dragon Queen's illness was not completely gone, but this small act had started her recovery. Max had discovered something the experts could not. Human empathy, observation, and care could succeed where science, magic, and wealth failed. Max looked at the Queen, her golden eyes now sparkling with life. He realized that sometimes the greatest power was not in rare ingredients, complicated tools, or expensive machines, but in heart, patience, and understanding, and he was ready to do whatever it took to help her fully recover. Max stood in the quiet palace kitchen, staring at the simple ingredients laid out on the counter. The Dragon Queen had eaten the small sandwich he had prepared earlier, but he knew one sandwich would not fully restore her strength. She needed more care, more consistency, and something she could trust. The experts were still arguing in the next room, showing off rare herbs, exotic fruits, and glowing potions. None of them understood why the Queen had responded to Max's simple food. They whispered that it was luck, coincidence, or even foolishness. Max shook his head. He knew it wasn't luck. It was observation, care, and understanding. He began to plan carefully. "She needs food that feels familiar," he muttered to himself. "Comforting, something that shows care, not just skill or magic." Max thought about his own child at home, the way a small, thoughtful meal could make them smile and feel safe. Maybe the Dragon Queen, despite being powerful and majestic, needed the same kind of care. He picked up fresh bread, soft and warm, and laid out slices of meat, cheese, and vegetables. Not rare or magical, just wholesome and simple. Then he added a small detail, a drizzle of honey, lightly spread, and a sprinkle of herbs that smelled sweet and earthy. He handled each ingredient with care, pressing them gently into a perfect sandwich. Every step was deliberate. Every touch meant to show attention and thoughtfulness. Once the sandwich was ready, Max considered how to present it. He couldn't just throw it on a plate and leave it. The Dragon Queen needed trust, and he had to show respect. He wrapped the sandwich carefully and walked to her chamber, keeping to the shadows to avoid the watchful eyes of the palace experts. The Dragon Queen lay on her side, wings folded, eyes half closed. She was still weak, but noticeably brighter than earlier. When Max entered, she lifted her head slightly and sniffed the air. Her golden eyes narrowed, curious but cautious. Max knelt a safe distance away, holding the sandwich in both hands. "Your Majesty," he said softly, "I made something for you. It's simple, but I hope it helps. Please try it." The guard stiffened and shouted, "Step back! You're not allowed to feed her directly." But the Dragon Queen moved before they could intervene. She nudged the air with her snout, leaning closer to Max, sniffing again. There was a hint of recognition in her eyes, as if she remembered the care he had shown before. Slowly, Max held out the sandwich. The Queen reached forward with her massive jaws, taking it carefully. She chewed slowly, tasting every part of it. Max whispered softly, "That's good. Take your time. There's no rush." She ate the entire sandwich, and with each bite, her breathing grew steadier. Her wings twitched lightly, flexing with newfound strength. The golden scales along her neck shimmered faintly in the light. The palace experts watched in shocked silence. Every rare dish and magical elixir had failed, but a simple, well-prepared sandwich from a human had worked. Max smiled softly, brushing a hand along the side of the plate. "It's not just about food," he whispered. "It's about care, attention, trust. You responded because this was made for you, with thought and patience." The Dragon Queen blinked slowly, almost as if understanding his words. She nudged his hand gently with her snout. Max realized that he could not just feed her once. He needed to prepare a plan to nourish her over several days, slowly restoring her strength and confidence. Each meal would be simple, thoughtful, and tailored to her moods. He would observe her reactions, learn her preferences, and adapt accordingly. Over the next hours, Max prepared small portions of food, each slightly different. Soft fruits one time, warm meat and bread another. He noticed how the queen responded to temperature, texture, and smell. She preferred food that was warm, soft, and carefully layered. She ignored flashy dishes and exotic flavors. Every response gave him more information about her needs. As he fed her, Max spoke softly, explaining his thoughts aloud. "I'm learning what you like," he said. "I'm listening. Together, we can get you strong again." The dragon queen listened her way, eyes fixed on him, occasionally nudging or chirping softly. The bond between them grew with each meal. Trust, Max realized, was as important as nutrition. By evening, the queen had eaten several small meals, each carefully prepared and served. She moved slightly more confidently, stretching her wings and flexing her claws. Max could see strength returning to her muscles and life returning to her golden eyes. The expert still watched, whispers of disbelief filling the room. "How is it possible?" one asked. "All our rare foods failed, and yet this human, a simple chef, has begun her recovery." Max ignored them. He focused on the queen, noting the subtle improvement in her breathing, the faint gleam in her scales, and the way her tail moved with more energy. He realized that human ingenuity, observation, and empathy had achieved what science, magic, and wealth could not. As night fell, Max cleaned the kitchen quietly, preparing for the next day. The dragon queen rested nearby, golden eyes watching him, a softness of approval escaping her throat. Max smiled, feeling warmth at his chest. He knew this was just the beginning, but he was ready. With simple food, care, and patience, he would restore the dragon queen fully. And in doing so, he would prove that humans, even a single dad with no magic or rare ingredients, could achieve extraordinary things through observation, ingenuity, and heart. The next morning, Max woke early, careful not to wake the dragon queen. She had moved slightly during the night, curling her massive body more comfortably on the palace floor. The golden glow in her scales was faint, but it was there, a sign of life slowly returning. Max quietly entered the kitchen, pulling out fresh ingredients. He arranged slices of bread, soft meat, fresh vegetables, and a touch of honey. It wasn't rare or magical, but it was prepared with care. Every slice, every layer was deliberate, made to appeal to the dragon queen's senses and comfort her weary body. He carried the plate to her chamber carefully. The guards looked nervous. "Sir, please step back," one said, voice trembling. "This is highly unusual. No human should approach the queen directly." Max shook his head. "I understand, but she trusts me. I need to help her." He stepped forward slowly, keeping the sandwich steady. The dragon queen lifted her head, golden eyes opening wider than usual. She sniffed the air cautiously, nostrils flaring. Max knelt, holding the plate out. "Your Majesty," he said softly, "I made this for you. Simple, warm, and made with care. Please try it." The queen tilted her head, then hesitated. Max held his breath. He knew her trust had limits, but the small victories from the day before had given him hope. Slowly, she leaned forward and took a small bite. The change was immediate. Her eyes blinked slowly, golden scales shimmering faintly as if a spark of energy had returned. She chewed carefully, then swallowed. Max watched, whispering softly, "Good, good. Take your time." She took another bite, and then another. With each mouthful, her breathing deepened, her body straightened slightly, and her wings twitched as if testing their strength. The palace experts, observing from the sidelines, froze in disbelief. Every rare and magical dish had failed, yet a simple sandwich, made with thought and care, was producing results. Max smiled quietly. "It's not just food," he whispered. "It's care, attention, trust." He watched as the queen ate slowly but steadily. Each bite seemed to give her energy, not just nourishment, but strength in her spirit. The guards whispered among themselves. "I've never seen this," one said. "It's remarkable. She's responding." The lead scientist stepped closer, eyes wide. "Impossible," she muttered. How can this be working? All our experiments failed." Max shook his head. It's simple. She needed someone to observe her, to understand her needs, not just throw rare foods or spells at her. She responded to care. That's what she's been missing. The Dragon Queen finished a small sandwich and nudged Max gently with her snout, a sign of approval. She blinked slowly, her eyes now brighter than they had been in days. Her wings stretched slightly, flexing with renewed energy. The transformation was subtle, but undeniable. Max knelt beside her, whispering softly, "See? You're stronger already. You're on the path to recovery. We can do this together." The Queen's tail swished lightly in response, a gesture of trust and acknowledgement. The experts murmured among themselves, some embarrassed, others curious. They had relied on rare ingredients, magical enhancements, and advanced machines, yet none of it worked. Now a human, a single dad with simple tools and observation, had achieved the first true success. Over the next few hours, Max continued to feed her small portions, observing her reactions carefully. He noticed subtle preferences. She liked food slightly warm, layered gently and presented without hurry. He adjusted each serving according to her mood and reactions, building trust as well as strength. By afternoon, the Queen moved more confidently. She tested her wings, flapping slightly, then stretching fully. She nudged Max with her head, chirping softly, a sound of joy and approval. The experts gasped. They had seen her refuse everything for days, and now she was responding to a human's simple care. Max realized something profound. The Dragon Queen's recovery wasn't just about food. It was about observation, empathy, and connection. He had used human ingenuity in a way no machine, spell, or rare ingredient could. He had succeeded where experts failed, not through tools or knowledge alone, but through care and understanding. The lead scientist approached hesitantly. Max, she said, struggling to keep composure. How did you know this would work? Max smiled softly. I didn't know for sure. I watched her. I listened. I tried to understand what she needed, not what I thought she needed. That's all. The Dragon Queen lifted her head, golden eyes locking on Max's. She chirped again, flapping her wings experimentally. Strength returned with each movement, and a subtle glow shone along her scales. She was healing. She was alive. Max laughed quietly, feeling relief and pride. He had expected small results, but the effect was far greater than he imagined. The Queen's health had begun to return because he had looked beyond complexity and wealth, beyond machines and magic, to something human and simple: care, patience, and understanding. By evening, the Queen had eaten several small meals, and her breathing was steady, her eyes bright, her wings testing the air. Max watched her carefully, knowing the road to full recovery would take time, but this was the first true victory. The palace experts could no longer dismiss him. The impossible had happened. A human's observation and empathy had succeeded where centuries of knowledge, wealth, and magic had failed. Max had not just fed a dragon. He had proven that human ingenuity, courage, and heart could achieve extraordinary results. The Dragon Queen nudged him gently one last time before curling her head down to rest, golden eyes blinking with trust and gratitude. Max smiled, whispering softly, "We're on our way. Your Majesty will get you strong again." For the first time in days, the palace felt hope. The Dragon Queen was recovering, not because of rare herbs or machines, but because a human had listened, cared, and acted with heart. The morning sun streamed through the palace windows, casting long beams of light across the polished floors. The Dragon Queen stirred, stretching her wings carefully. She had eaten well the day before, but her recovery was still fragile. Max knew that it wasn't enough for one meal to prove she could regain full strength. He needed to show the palace experts that his method truly worked. The guards and scientists gathered in the chamber early. Whispers filled the room. "Do you think he can do it again?" one asked nervously. "It was lucky the first time," another replied. "This is dangerous. The Queen is still weak." Max stepped forward calmly, carrying a fresh sandwich and a few small plates of simple food. "I need to feed her carefully over several days," he said softly. "I will observe her reactions, adjust what she needs, and make sure she recovers safely. I need trust, patience, and care. That's all." The experts exchanged doubtful looks. "A human can't prove anything here," one muttered. "This is highly irregular." Max ignored them. He approached the Dragon Queen and knelt at a safe distance. "Your Majesty," he whispered, "we need to do this slowly. You need strength, and I will help you." The Queen lifted her head and blinked, golden eyes fixed on him. She seemed to understand that he meant no harm. Max held the food out, and she took it carefully, chewing slowly. With each bite, her breathing grew steadier, and her wings twitched with strength returning. Over the next several hours, Max prepared small meals, each slightly different. He tested her preferences carefully: temperature, texture, smell, and layering. The Queen responded best to warm, soft textures and simple flavors. Every bite made her stronger. Every careful gesture earned trust. The experts watched closely, their skepticism slowly fading into amazement. Machines and rare ingredients had failed, but Max's patience and human observation were producing real results. Still, they were not convinced. They insisted he prove it under controlled conditions, with careful monitoring of her health and behavior. Max agreed. He designed a schedule, measured meals, gentle encouragement, and observation of physical responses. The Dragon Queen followed along, curious and cautious. She allowed him to monitor her, flapping her wings gently to test her strength, and moving her tail in controlled motions. At midday, a sudden gust of wind from the open palace windows startled her. Her wings faltered slightly, and she hissed in alarm. Max moved quickly but calmly, adjusting the food tray and speaking softly. "It's okay, Your Majesty. You can handle this." Just small movements, steady and careful. The Queen steadied herself, testing her wings. Max noticed how subtle adjustments in the way he presented food and words of encouragement helped her balance. This was more than nutrition. It was trust, guidance, and careful attention to detail. As the day progressed, Max documented everything carefully. The Queen's reactions to food, the way her muscles flexed, the color of her scales, and even the subtle glow in her wings. He explained each step to the experts, who reluctantly nodded as they saw clear progress. Later, Max faced the most difficult challenge. The Queen needed to move more freely, to flap her wings fully and regain flight strength. He prepared a light meal, placing it near her and stepped back. "Your Majesty, take small steps," he whispered. "Stretch, flap, test your strength. You're ready." The Queen lifted her wings carefully, testing the air. She took a small bite from the plate, then another. Her breathing was strong, steady, and her golden eyes gleamed. Slowly, she flapped, then lifted slightly off the palace floor. The room gasped. Max whispered encouragement, adjusting only subtly when she struggled against balance. She hovered, wings beating rhythmically, gaining confidence. Max had anticipated her movements, but she needed to trust herself as much as him. The observers were stunned. Machines could not teach a dragon to trust a human, but care and observation could. Over the next days, Max repeated the process. Each meal, each flight test, each careful gesture reinforced the bond and strengthened the Queen. She moved more freely, eating with ease, flapping her wings, stretching her claws, and testing her strength. Every moment demonstrated human ingenuity, patience, and empathy in action. By the 5th day, the Dragon Queen's scales shone brilliantly. Her wings flexed powerfully, her breathing was strong, and she walked and flapped without hesitation. The palace experts could no longer doubt the success of Max's method. Even the lead scientist, who had been most skeptical, stepped forward and nodded. "You've proven it," she said quietly. "No machine, no rare food, no magical spell could achieve this. Your method, your patience, and care, it works." Max smiled softly, kneeling beside the Dragon Queen. "It wasn't me," he said. "It was her trust. We worked together. That's what made the difference." The Queen nudged him gently with her snout, golden eyes sparkling. She stretched fully, wings flapping in a display of strength and freedom. Max stood, feeling a warmth in his chest. Human care, ingenuity, and empathy had triumphed where knowledge and power had failed. The palace erupted in quiet applause. Guards, scientists, and servants watched in awe. A small human had shown that courage, patience, and understanding could solve a problem that experts could not. Max had proven that humanity's strength was not just in tools or knowledge, but in heart and ingenuity. The Dragon Queen flapped her wings experimentally, circling the room with renewed strength. Max watched, smiling. She was fully on the path to recovery, and her trust in him and in humans was complete. As the sun dipped low, casting golden light across the palace, Max whispered softly, "We did it, Your Majesty. You're strong again." The Queen chirped softly, nudging him once more. Together, they had faced doubt, skepticism, and danger, and they had triumphed. The palace was alive with excitement. Word had spread that the Dragon Queen was recovering, stronger and healthier than she had been in weeks. The golden glow along her scales reflected in the polished floors, and her wings flexed powerfully as she moved to the grand chamber. For the first time in days, there was hope, and the entire city watched with anticipation. Max stood quietly to the side, humble but proud. He had spent days observing, preparing meals, and carefully guiding the Queen's recovery. Every simple sandwich, every thoughtful gesture had led to this moment. The palace experts, who had once doubted him, now watched in awe. Machines, magical potions, and rare ingredients had all failed. But humans' patience, care, and ingenuity had succeeded. The Dragon Queen lifted her massive head, golden eyes scanning the room. Her gaze settled on Max. She blinked slowly, then emitted a low, approving hum, the sound resonating deep in her chest. The guards and scientists held their breath, knowing this was a rare display of recognition. The lead scientist stepped forward cautiously, voice filled with awe. I cannot explain it," she admitted. "All our methods failed. Yet this human has restored her strength with simple food and care. Incredible. Extraordinary." Max shook his head gently. "It wasn't just me," he said softly. "It was trust, observation, care. We worked together." He glanced at the Queen, who nudged him gently with her snout, a soft acknowledgement of their bond. The palace commander approached, his usual stern expression softened by amazement. "Max," he said, "you have done what no expert could. You've saved the Dragon Queen with courage, patience, and simple wisdom. The city owes you recognition." Max felt a warm flush in his chest. He had never sought fame or reward. He had only wanted to help. Still, the idea that humans could be acknowledged for their care and ingenuity filled him with quiet pride. The guards and servants clapped softly, the sound echoing to the grand chamber. Children peered from the balconies, wide-eyed, whispering to one another about the small human who had saved the mighty Dragon Queen. The scientists, once skeptical, now took careful notes, realizing that human empathy and observation were tools just as powerful as any machine or magical spell. Max approached the Dragon Queen cautiously. She lowered her head so he could stand beside her. He placed a gentle hand on her shimmering scales. "You're strong now," he whispered, "healthy and free." The Queen stretched her wings fully, testing the air. They glimmered in the sunlight, strong and powerful. She took a few steps, moving with grace and confidence. Then, with a powerful beat of her wings, she lifted slightly off the ground, hovering above Max. It was a demonstration, a show of her restored strength and trust in him. The crowd erupted in applause, whispers of admiration filling the chamber. Even the most skeptical experts had to acknowledge the result. A human, small and ordinary in many ways, had achieved what centuries of expertise and magic could not. The Dragon Queen circled above Max, golden eyes bright, wings beating rhythmically. She hovered for a moment and then dipped down, nudging him gently. Max laughed softly, feeling warmth and pride. He realized that humanity's greatest strength lay not in rare knowledge, wealth, or magic, but in courage, care, and ingenuity. The palace commander stepped forward again, holding a small medal of honor. "For courage, wisdom, and the extraordinary care you've shown the Dragon Queen," he said, placing it gently around Max's neck. "You've reminded us all what humans can do when they act with heart and determination." Max touched the medal lightly, glancing at the Queen. "This is ours," he said softly. "We did it together." The Queen chirped happily, wings flapping, showing energy and joy. The experts approached, still stunned but respectful. "We have learned a great lesson," one said. Human ingenuity and care cannot be measured by machines or magic alone. We must observe, listen, and act with empathy. This changes how we approach problems forever. Max smiled. He had never imagined that his simple idea, sandwiches and care, would teach such a lesson. But the Dragon Queen's recovery proved it. Humans, with their heart, patience, and cleverness, could achieve incredible things. The sun began to set over the floating city, casting golden light across the palace. The Dragon Queen stretched fully, wings glinting in the warm glow. Max watched her, feeling pride, relief, and awe. Together, they had faced doubt, danger, and skepticism, and triumphed. He looked around at the people of the palace, all watching in admiration. He realized that this was more than a victory for the Dragon Queen. It was a triumph for humanity itself. The small, ordinary human, acting with care and observation, had reminded everyone that courage, ingenuity, and empathy were true strengths. The Dragon Queen dipped low to Max, golden eyes meeting his. She chirped softly, a sound full of trust and appreciation. Max smiled and whispered, "We did it, Your Majesty. You're free, strong, and healthy. And we prove that humans can do amazing things when they care." The palace erupted in celebration. Children cheered, adults nodded in respect, and the experts recorded every detail, finally recognizing the power of human heart and intelligence. Max stood beside the Dragon Queen, proud but humble, knowing that together they had achieved something extraordinary. As night fell and the stars appeared above the floating city, the Dragon Queen soared above the palace, wings strong and free. Max watched from below, feeling the quiet triumph of humans celebrated. Not for power, magic, or machines, but for courage, care, and ingenuity. Humanity's strength had been proven, and it shone brightly that night, reflected in the golden scales of the Dragon Queen and in the heart of the small, determined human who had saved her.